Mike, it seemed like you really handed Trey a big role, particularly in that second half. Obviously, he played well. How has he grown into being a guy that can be, sort of captain the offense on the floor? I know he's maybe not an out-and-out point guard, but give you those point guard type minutes and that point guard type impact.
You talking about Trace?
Trey.
Well, again, it started back this summer when he was on the second unit. He and Tamar Bates had a lot of duties in terms of handling the basketball when X was playing. So I had X and Jalen matched up against those two. And they had to bring the ball up the floor like point guards do. And, they had to be basketball players. It's kind of how I look at it. And we work on a lot of ball handling drills with all of our players to make them feel comfortable about handling the basketball when they get on the game floor and they start playing for real. So it's the work that he's put in this summer that's put him in the position to be able to get the trust from me and the coaching staff to let him run our point.
Mike, when you guys scored 10 straight, it was Bates, Renew, Bates, Galloway, Kopp. At an important part of the game, just illustrate the importance of not just having to depend on Trace and those guys stepping up in a big moment and doing their own production.
Well, again, this team was put together, from last season for that reason alone, where everybody had to play a role. And, we've had our ups and downs in terms of guys stepping up, but these last 3 games, man, everybody that's played has, played a major role in us winning. And it's not just Trace. Yeah, Trace is kind of the guy that's driving the car, but the supporting cast has really pitched in and done their job as well.
Mike, Michigan State obviously paid a lot more attention to Trace than what the guys have done the last couple of games, and still at 31 and 15. You want to just talk about how the good decision making he made as well too, and being in the right spots all the time?
Well, again, they didn't really double. They just dropped everybody and was in and out from a defensive standpoint. And I thought early on he missed about 3 or 4 what I call chippies that he normally makes. But make no mistake about it, it was our defense that held us. At the 10-minute mark, I think they had 17 points. So I just thought from a coaching standpoint, if we could find some offense eventually, then we get back in the ball game, and we did.
Jeff.
Yeah, Coach. Trace Jackson Davis, he ties Jeff Newton today for the IU all-time career lead in block shots. Back-to-back 30-point games, 40 career double-doubles. What are we looking at when we're seeing a guy like Trace Jackson Davis play at this level?
I think you're looking at a complete player, man, that's for 4 years that has done it at a high level. Can a lot of players say that, hey, they've averaged 18, 19, 20 a game every year in college? And, you add his rebounding, his ability to block shots, his assists, his ability to handle the ball and push it to initiate the break. There's nothing the guy can't do on the basketball floor. He's making his free throws. He's a beautiful player to watch, man, and I'm just glad he's on our ball club, put it that way.
Mike, even though you're still without a healthy Race Thompson, he was in today, but Xavier obviously out. This team looks like offensively they're playing as good as they've played all season. The defense seems to have returned. You lost 3 straight Big Ten games during a stretch. Now you've won 3 straight. What has been the difference? What was the switch that changed things? Because this team is obviously playing with more emotion and more tenacity.
Well, guys, when you lose 2 starters, and I go back to the Iowa game, you lose 2 starters, it's a shell shock to everybody. And especially when you got to depend on the Maliks and the CJs and Jalen, who's never played at this level a long period of time. And that's where we were. I'm not using it as an excuse. Those guys, mentally we were smacked in the face. And, when we started to go into the tailspin, the only way to get out of a tailspin, I've always believed this as a coach. You got to work your way out of it. So practice became even harder. And I became more demanding. I wanted more. We needed more. And we responded in the Wisconsin game, and it's been a nice carryover in Illinois and now today. So that's kind of where we are.
You mentioned sometimes you can go into a tailspin and not get out of it. You have to work. What does it just say, though, about these guys, that the way they have responded since that 3-game stretch where they weren't playing as well?
It says a lot. They're not quitters. I've been a part of teams that just shut it down and say, I'm done. But these guys, they're playing for something. The Big Ten championship and title is still out there. Somebody's got to win it. So, they're still competitive, and they got to stay competitive and stay humble and practice hard and do all the things that's necessary before you get ready for a ball game to play.
Mike, in that second half, you subbed Jalen out, and you left that lineup of Trey Galloway and Tamar out there for about 11 minutes without Jalen in the game. What does it say about those two that they were able to get a run going even without the starting point guard in the ball game?
It's all about trust. Tamar, he had been struggling the last few games, and he stepped up and played tonight. And Gallo's been solid. I mean, he's been solid from day one. I like Gallo because he plays hard. He does all the intangible things that guys don't like to do. So the trust factor is there. And, Jalen took a big blow, and he was kind of hobbling around. So, hell, I didn't think he had much in the tank at that time, so I rode those guys.
Two more questions. Go ahead.
Coach, there was a little extra energy today, led to some chippiness between both teams. Was that kind of by design? And if not, what kind of led to that different attitude?
I don't think it's by the design. It's competition, man. Both teams are competitive. Anytime you play an Izzo team that's well coached by Izzo, they're competitive. They play hard. They push you to play hard, and if you don't, you lose. And I thought tonight our guys stepped up, matched their energy, and we were able to come out of here with the win.
Last question.
Coach, you mentioned the defense carrying you guys. Michigan State started the game 7 of 11 from the field. I think they only shot 38% the rest of the game. What did you guys figure out defensively that you weren't doing early?
Well, again, they made shots. Hauser made some tough shots, off the bounce as well as post-up play. And, Trey gave up a couple of buckets, underneath on post-up plays. So, those were things I was screaming about, the rest of the game, not giving up. And I thought we did a pretty good job on their perimeter play. So, it was a solid team effort, I thought.